Mr. Ayo sat alone in his living room, staring at the plate of cold jollof rice Simi had left on the glass center table. The rice was clumped together, dry, with no meat by the side. The TV in front of him blared a loud action movie, but he wasn't really watching. His eyes were glued to the front door, as if wishing someone else to walk through it. Not Simi, not the house help. He was hoping for a ghost, a woman who used to light up the entire house with her quiet presence. The woman he drove away. 3 years ago, this house had felt like home. These same walls had echoed with laughter and the sound of small feet running around. His shirts used to be neatly hung in his side of the wardrobe, his lunch packed in a warm flask, always with a small folded note that read, "Remember to eat, my love." Now even the air felt heavy, cold, and empty. Back then, Betty Ayo, his wife of 16 years, was his anchor. She wasn't flashy or loud. She didn't flood social media with love quotes or do grand display of affection, but she loved deeply, and she showed it in the small, steady ways that made life easier for him. She woke up at 5 a.m. every morning. Whether she was tired or not, she made him fresh pap and akara on Saturdays, even though he sometimes grumbled that she used too much pepper. She didn't argue. She just smiled and adjusted the recipe the next time. She handled the home like it was her full-time job, although she also worked part-time as an assistant at a local clinic. She managed their children's school runs, handled their bills when he forgot, and still found time to rub his back when he came home complaining about the traffic or his annoying colleagues. Betty didn't do all this because she had nothing better to do. She did it because she believed in partnership, in marriage, in him, Mr. Ayo. There were days she was exhausted to the bone, days when her legs ached from standing too long in the kitchen, days when she longed to sit, to be served, to be noticed, but she'd never said a word, not because she didn't want to, but because she feared that saying too much would make her sound so ungrateful. And Mr. Ayo, he noticed, but he didn't appreciate, not really. In his eyes, this was just normal wife duties, nothing special. He thought to himself, she's not complaining, so she must be fine. But Betty was far from fine. She felt invisible, like a background character in a life she helped to build. The cracks started small. He began staying out late, coming home around 1 a.m. and making series of excuses. Next, he started skipping meals at home. His wife Betty would spend hours in the kitchen cooking his favorite meals, only for him to tell her he didn't feel like eating her food. He also started ignoring her goodnight kisses, and Betty, being a gentle woman, started to pull back, not out of spite, but from confusion. She would lie awake at night and stare at the ceiling, wondering what she had done wrong. Was she not beautiful enough anymore? Was it the little weight she had gained after their last child? Was she too quiet? Was she too soft? She had so many things going through her mind, making excuses for her husband, Mr. Ayo, while hoping and praying that if she kept doing everything right, he would see and love her again. That was when Simi entered the picture. Mr. Ayo met Simi at work. She was the new temporary HR consultant, brought in to assist with a large-scale recruitment drive at the engineering firm where he was a senior manager. From the moment she walked in, she commanded attention. Her voice was bright, her perfume expensive, and her heels clicked confidently on the tiled office floor. Everyone noticed her, including Mr. Ayo. At first, it was just polite workplace conversations. Simi was good with people. Of course she was, given her career in human resources. She smiled at everyone, complimented freely, and always found a way to make people feel important. But she gave Mr. Ayo just a little more attention and laughed a little louder at his jokes. During meetings, she sat close and asked for his opinion more than necessary. She teased him about being too serious and once said with a sly smile, "I bet you were a heartbreak in your younger days." He laughed it off, but it made him feel good about himself. At home, Betty had grown quieter, not cold, just tired. The rhythm of their marriage had become routine. Conversations were mostly about school fees, bills, grocery. The intimacy between them was rare, and even when they shared a bed, there was a distance between their bodies that hadn't always been there. Simi, on the other hand, felt fresh, exciting. She texted him outside work hours with playful messages like, "Hope your day wasn't too boring without me." He knew it was dangerous, but he didn't stop. He liked how she made him feel seen, admired, and special. One evening, she asked for a ride after work, claiming that her boat driver had cancelled on her last minute. He hesitated at first, but eventually he agreed. The car ride was filled with laughter and personal questions. She asked him about his dreams, his regrets, and what he would do if he wasn't stuck at his current job. She listened like his words mattered. At the end of the ride, she gently touched his hand and said, "Thanks for being such a gentleman." From then on, things between them began to move quickly. Mr. Ayo started asking Simi out for drinks after work. They even got bold and started grabbing lunch together. Then one Friday evening, Mr. Ayo booked a hotel room. He told himself that it was just a one-time thing, just to see what it felt like. Sooner than he imagined, it became a regular escape. Back at home, Betty noticed the drastic change of her husband, Mr. Ayo. Of course, she noticed. He stopped making conversations. He left the house earlier than usual and came home very late. He became very protective of his phones, always keeping its screen down, taking calls outside like a secret service agent, and setting new passwords. Betty didn't say anything at first. She continued with her wifey duties of cooking his meals, ironing his clothes, and hoping whatever was wrong would pass. But she was no fool. She watched his body language. She noticed his new column, the hidden smiles he gave whenever he was typing on his phone, the increased energy he suddenly had for work. Then, one Tuesday evening, everything became clear. He had just returned from work and gone to take a shower. Betty was changing the bed sheets when his phone, which he left on the bed, buzzed with a message from a contact named Sim. Her eyes flicked to the screen. The message read, "I'm still wearing your shirt. Smells like you. Should I keep it on for round two?" Betty froze. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up the phone. She wasn't proud of what she did next, but something inside her needed to know the truth. She opened the message thread. What she saw nearly took the strength from her knees. She saw explicit photos, flirty emojis, and romantic voice notes. Dozens of flirty messages sent during work hours. Betty sat on the bed, stunned. Her hands were cold, her face hot. The heartache was deep, not just from betrayal, but from the realization that he had chosen this woman over his wife and kids, while she was at home doing everything, holding everything together, being a loyal wife and dedicated mother to their kids. He was elsewhere, being loved, being touched, being desired by another woman. She didn't confront him that night. She served him dinner, but he barely touched it. Is something wrong with the soup? She asked. No, he said. I'm just tired. She sat down opposite him and said quietly, Ayo, is there someone else? He didn't lie. He didn't deny it. He just sighed and said, I didn't plan for it to happen. And that was all he said. No remorse, no fight, no apology. She nodded and replied, okay. 2 days later, she began packing. There was no shouting, no drama. She made arrangements with her sister and moved out with the kids a week later. She didn't touch their wedding pictures. She left the bed sheets they had picked together. She didn't ask for anything more than her dignity. Mr. Ayo watched her go, and for a moment he felt relief, like a burden had been lifted off him. Simi moved in 2 weeks later. The house was redecorated. It became brighter, louder, and more modern. She changed the curtains, brought in scented candles, and insisted on getting rid of the old woman aesthetic from his ex-wife. The quiet order Betty had kept was gone. At first, Mr. Ayo enjoyed it. Simi was young, fun, spontaneous, and always ready to take selfies for Instagram. She made him laugh. She made him feel young. But excitement fades fast, and what comes after is never what you expect. Stay tuned for part 2. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next part.